David. Among the prophets of the Mosaic dispensation, besides Jesus Christ, David and Solomon are given the greatest prominence, and the glory to which the Israelite kingdom arose under these prophet kings is referred to on more occasions than one. In fact, all this is history containing prophecy of the greatness of Islam. The chapters containing such references are those which were revealed at Mecca when opposition to the prophet was at its highest and his cause seemed quite hopeless. The narration of the history was a comfort to the Muslimin who were at that time coming, when all opposition to the prophet would be brought to naught, and Islam would shine forth in all her glory. The prominence given to the history of John the Baptist and Jesus Christ on the one hand, and of that of David and Solomon on the other, and both in Aramea and in Arabic, you have a w instead of a v. So Dawood, of whom the former stood for the spiritual greatness of the Mosaic dispensation and the latter for material greatness, was in fact a clear indication that the Holy Prophet was destined to occupy both the position of a spiritual teacher and a king. This is made clear by expressly calling the Prophet Muhammad the like of Moses, as already pointed out, and again by likening the Muhammadan dispensation to the Mosaic dispensation. Surah 24, ayat 55. The longest notice of David is contained in Surah 35, ayat 17 through 26, which begins with his conquests and his kingdom. 38, 17 through 20 says, "Bear patiently what they say and remember our servant David, the possessor of power, he ever turned to Allah. Truly, we made the mountains subject to him, glorifying Allah. At nightfall and sunrise, and birds gathered together, all were obedient to him. And we strengthened his kingdom, and we gave him wisdom and a clear judgment." The account of the conquest and the kingdom of David is preceded by an injunction to the prophet to bear patiently what his opponents said and did, thus indicating that the state of helplessness and prosecution of Islam would come to an end and the Muslimin would rise to similar greatness and glory. These verses, while speaking to the physical conquests of David, also allude to his spiritual conquest, because the mountains are spoken of as being subjected to declared divine glory. The birds are mentioned as attendants of a victorious army. This is made clearer by what is said elsewhere, like 34, ayat 10 and 11. "And certainly we gave David abundance from us. O mountains, repeat praises with him, and the birds, and we made the iron pliant to him. Make ample and assign a time to the making of coats of mail, and do ye good. Surely I am seer of what you do." The mentioning of making iron pliant to him and of coats of mail show clearly that on both occasions the reference is to battles with the enemy and the conquests following them. Notwithstanding the vastness of his kingdom, David was told to bear up with his enemies and treat them leniently. Surah 38, ayat 21 and 22 says, "And has the story of the adversaries come to thee when they made an entry into the private chamber by ascending the walls, when they came upon David, so he was afraid of them?" Strangely enough, this account of his enemies planning against his life has been twisted by some less careful commentators under the influence of Jewish tradition and the Bible into the story that David committed adultery and that two angels came to remind him of the sin. The Quran plainly calls the two intruders to be Qasim, or enemies, and speaks of them as finding access to his private chambers by ascending over the walls, and to suppose them to be angels is the height of absurdity. Caliph Ali, when he heard the false story related about David, said, "Whoever shall relate the story of David as the storytellers related, I will give him 160 stripes, and this is the punishment of those who falsely charge the prophets." The incident is related by the great commentator Razi, who also says, most of the learned and those who have searched for the truth among them declare this charge to be false and condemn it as a lie and as a mischievous story. The Bible story that David committed adultery is thus rejected by Islam as a false charge against a prophet of God. On the other hand, the Holy Quran speaks of David in terms of highest praise. Surely he had a nearness to us and an excellent resort, according to 38:25. The only other important point related about David is his slaying of Goliath, Surah 2, 251, which occurs in a Medina revelation, and here too it is added that Allah gave him a kingdom and wisdom.